Welcome in, everyone, to the Crowded Booth. My name is Bryce Koon here on a Wednesday evening. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow on all those social media platforms, as tonight we take a look at the top 5 ACC quarterback rankings heading into 2025. Myself, Will Maness, and Ralph Leary. We'll talk to you here in just a second on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. Coming on the Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
All right, welcome in, everyone, to the Crowded Booth here on a Wednesday evening. Maxwell Josephs already are off to a hot start. Brody Rhodes, number one. We all know that. It's just Brody Rhodes and everyone else. Johnny Reed, obviously, in the chat. Gavin in the chat. Reggie in the chat. Matt and Zach Jones in the chat as well. We appreciate you tuning in. We took a look at all 16 SEC quarterbacks, fellas, on Monday. We huddled. We talked a lot. And we said, you know what? Will and I don't want to disrespect Bill O'Brien and Boston College again. And we don't want to disrespect other programs. So we're just not going to talk about them at all. At all. Joe the Pilot, Mary Kate, Ole Miss, number 1 quarterback in the country.
We're going there already.
That's wild. I'll tell you this. I was on a show an hour ago.
Player.
I was on a show an hour ago to talk about LSU baseball. # can't talk about it. But it was brought up in the comments within the first 5 seconds, which was hilarious. So anyways, back to the original scheduled programming. ACC quarterbacks. But first off, fellas, as we do, or have been doing, Will, we need the first press conference, post-game presser, day afterwards. Opening day did not go the way you wanted. So
it did.
Here.
It went exactly how I wanted it to.
It did? Oh, well, okay, all right.
And I hope the players are watching and can hear that, so they know the whole story. I played a doubleheader. Got our teeth kicked in game 1, lost 12-3. Responded in game 2, won 5-3. So I'm real happy with being able to split a doubleheader. First game, a lot of nerves. Opening day, just got off to a horrendous start. The bats were alive. Bryce knows a lot of these kids, helped me coach several of these kids. And I texted him after the game. I said, well, we out hit the other team. And that wouldn't have been on anybody's bingo card.
I couldn't believe it. So there you go.
I
I will also say this too. I did not know that you won the second game. The way it was worded in the text message, it was Gavin was speaking in some type of rhythmic code. I'm not sure, So I'm not sure what that was, but there we go.
I don't know what those emojis mean.
I'm not sure. Jonesy, Crazy Zach in the house. Yeah, there as well. Will, Ralph, you were a spectator. And the only question I have for you was, how much did it cost to get in? What was the price of admission?
You know what? I'll say it was a lot cheaper than that one school I went to and watched the game for Will last year. $6 for a doubleheader, so $3 per game. I think that's acceptable.
That's not bad at all.
For middle school baseball, not really though. If you think about it,
we have to move off this topic quickly.
I don't think we should.
A bat signal has been sent out.
Oh boy.
We got to move on.
You know what the great segue is, though, fellas? Yeah,
see, there you go. See, already we got to move along.
We got to move on. Matt Hubbard, Will's hat is so clean. This is a great segue because you need to check it out. Ralph's got one. I've got one as well. Make sure you check out. We're gonna get the stuff together. GeorgiaGolfCompany.com. They do a fantastic job. You need to check out what they've got going on because presenting sponsor here on the Crowded Booth. The hats are sick, and we've gotten compliments both in person and I think the fellas might take them on the road when we go. So it'll be interesting there as well. So what a time.
That answers Jonesy's question.
That answers, yeah. What is, yeah. Here we go.
Oh, you throwing it up. I was going to say,
I'll throw it up there. Yeah. There we go. So this is awesome. I'm not sure what's happening here. Okay. So anyways, back to the regular scheduled programming. Will lost game 1, but you split the doubleheader, and it was not an A game and B game.
Well,
I'm surprised there wasn't one because I don't know how this Hunter Carlson kid even got on the field without it being a B game.
hey, you say what you want. That's my starting catcher right there.
You know why? Because I put the fear in God of him in that parking lot out in his 6th grade year. That's why. What a time.
That's true.
What a time. All right, we do have a super chat. Let's go ahead and get to it. Our man, Zach Jones, he is ready to talk about ACC quarterback rankings. He's got Klubnik, Jennings, Beck, King, Holstein. End of show. Everyone go home. You know what?
That's a great top 5.
All right,
That's
go
Go ahead and throw it
everybody.
up there. That's a great top 5. Throw it up there.
that's pretty good.
I appreciate it.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home.
Gotta love it. Reg Talk says, no surprise, Will is a fan of catchers.
Oh, here's the one.
Not sure what that means.
ACC head coach ranking, or not
I
head
plead
coach,
the
quarterback rankings. What a time. All right, let's talk about this because Zach threw his up there. Appreciate you, Zach, for doing this. Klubnik, Jennings, Beck, King, Holstein. I don't want to spoil anything. I think, Ralph, yours is first when we do pull it up, by the way. So you're going first. But I did want to say this. I believe that these are the 5 in different orders for us, if I'm not mistaken. These are the 5 best quarterbacks we feel like. Am I wrong in that? Ralph, is this on par with yours? Okay. So it's different order. I think we all have them in, but these for us feel like the top 5 quarterbacks entering the ACC. So that's what that is. So Zach, we appreciate you. All right, let's, without further ado, we're not even going to address it. Who is your Kent Murphy right fielder? Yeah, that's what a wild time. What a wild time. Okay.
My right fielder ended game 1 with a bloody finger. Couldn't tell you how that happened.
Well, I'm playing switch-ups, that's why. So,
that ground ball out there, right through his legs.
Relax.
All right, here we go. Ralph, you go first, my friend. Klubnik, for the audio listeners, tell the people who your top 5 is.
From 1 to 5, I got K Klubnik, Kevin Jennings, Haynes King, Eli Holstein, and Carson Beck.
All right.
I really struggled with my list. And I took surprise 4 and 5. I feel very confident with 1 2 and 3. I think we're all very confident in 1. I think everyone in this chat who is a reasonable set of mindset is confident that Klubnik is the number 1 quarterback going to 2025 for the ACC. And there's a slight drop off. There's no knock to that. It's just there is a drop off, and it's nothing against these quarterbacks, but Klubnik has played the most outstanding the last 2 seasons, in my opinion. Ralph has King ahead of that. We were the same Ralph. I'll get that in a second. I think Klubnik obviously best returning team for the ACC coming this year. They are loaded again. All the confidence in the world for Klubnik this season. Kevin Jennings, man, they're coming off a huge first year in the ACC. Made it to the ACC championship game. No one thought they could. Everyone doubted us for supporting them. I expect the same outcome for SMU this year. Kevin Jennings at the helm again for a full season. Basically didn't play very much the first 2 games. Kind of took the rollover in game 3, really. And you see where it landed him. So,
yeah.
Haynes King, off and on last year with injuries, could not really get fully healthy. And it showed in certain games, but the dude's a gamer. He plays, the honest to truth is balls to the wall. I mean, he is full on contact. He takes most of the shots of the game, and it's going to hurt him in the future. I hate to say it, but it's going to hurt him if he cannot stay healthy long enough. That it's going to make Georgia Tech struggle in some games because they need him to play. And it shows you in every game they lost this past year when he wasn't there, especially in that Notre Dame game and the Virginia Tech game where he was not playing on the field, that they struggled offensively. They couldn't get the ball going. You can't focus on one. You can't have the offense focus on one player with Jamal Haynes if you don't have Haynes King in the backfield with them, running this offense. I thought what he did last year was very good. He kept the interceptions down. Ran the ball very well. I'm not reading the comments because I refuse to read stupidity tonight. But yeah, I think Haynes King's had the possibility to have a great season, bounce back year for him if he stays healthy all year long. I'm going to Holstein at 4 because we really doubted them last year.
We did. We hate. No, we didn't doubt Ralph. Let's just be real.
Well,
We
I'll say
hated.
I was not on the show when y'all had the hate for
Will
Pitt.
and I hated. Hand up. Shout out to the one Pitt content creator. We hated.
But Holstein had a great season. Got a little banged up toward the end of the season for himself, and they struggled in the last few games. Didn't go their way. Lost some kind of important games for them. But I do see Pitt coming back out, having a good year again. Going for a good bowl game. Possibly compete for ACC. Don't really see it much, but Eli Holstein going for another great season in hand. And Carson Beck, I have him at 5 because I just don't know. What we saw last year at Georgia is not who we're going to see this year at Miami. You're not having the same offensive line. You don't have the same weapons around you. I just don't know if it's going to be stellar quarterback play from Beck, or we're going to have the one we had last year. He throws a lot of interceptions, fumbles the ball, and tries to be the best player in the field. He doesn't have to be, but he tries to be, and it screws him over in certain games. So I'm just going to say I have him at 5 right now. If we had the Carson Beck for 2023, he obviously jumps up in his ranking. If not, then it's just he stays there at 5 or goes lower.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, and going back to Eli Holstein, I wanted to mention this because I was looking at some of his stuff. This is a guy that before he got hurt, and I know the schedule wasn't what it was, but it's Pitt. Like Pitt had a lot to replace, right? They averaged 33 points a game. Like that offense was humming heading into Dallas when they played SMU. He gets hurt. It's just one of those things where they kind of fell off the rest. I mean, did they lose? Did they win another game after that? Didn't they finish like 7-5? I'm not well versed on how Pitt finished. So I think that Holstein. Ralph, you text me this. Holstein is a person where it's like I don't think people really realized how good he played last year.
Yeah,
just with what he was able to I want to get the stats here. He threw for 2,200 yards, almost 2,300 yards and 17 touchdowns. And obviously, and also too, this is important. They were number 18 in the first playoff ranking. First quarterback since Dan Marino, by the way, to lead Pitt to their win in their first 7 games.
Yeah, so they went 7-0 and lost their last 6, including the bowl game.
Including the bowl game. Gotcha.
Yeah,
what did they will?
You gotta remember there's a lot of young ears in the comments tonight. They don't know who Dan Marino is.
That is true.
In one of those games, including was losing to SMU, and then obviously Holstein got hurt the last 3 games of the season, did not play the bowl game. So going off of that also, and those 3 losses were in the season are Clemson, Louisville, and Boston College. They're Boston College, so.
We're going to get more into this after the rankings,
but
the Kevin Jennings, Haynes King conversation is a very interesting one. That's all I'll say.
What is going on in the comments?
So, yeah, that's. I think that's.
I think y'all are going to have to explain this one.
Bruh, you 20 years old. Don't talk like you know all these old guard guys. I mean, I just think like if you know ball, you know who Dan Marino is, right? Also, Will's not 20. He's at least 23.
At least.
At least. So let's have the conversation.
Mentally about 55.
Hunter just asked, Brian, do you have kids per chance? We don't need to talk about that. Zach says rambling on with Zach Jones says, no, it's not. I love King and he's my favorite player, but Jennings is better. Fair. All right. That's a good one, Ralph. I like it. We'll talk more about some of the specific quarterbacks, what we like about them, what we don't like about them after this. We'll go to the rankings. Next up is Will. Same 5 in a different order. Will, you can run through all of them. You can kind of talk however you want to go through these top 5 guys.
Yep. Same 5, different order. Going Klubnik 1. I mean, just very quietly had probably the best second half of the season, maybe of any quarterback in the country. Obviously Clemson needed help to get where they got, but if Klubnik doesn't up his game, Clemson doesn't make the ACC title game, doesn't win it, doesn't make the playoff. A lot of that fell on the shoulders of Cade Klubnik, and he stepped up. And, you can say the same thing about Kevin Jennings. His play elevated SMU's offense. Like Ralph said, didn't start the first 2 games. And then Rhett Lashley went to him, and that SMU offense found a whole nother gear. We talked about him all year. He's magic in the pocket. I mean, there's very few guys that I can think of, not just in the ACC, but in the country, that have his ability to escape sacks in the pocket. Just super, super talented. Turnovers were a bit of an issue. He had, now my computer wants to be slow, of course. He threw 11 interceptions last year, 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Decent ratio. If he can cut down on those INTs, I mean, we're talking about a national championship contending SMU, not just a team that kind of backs their way into the playoff. At number 3, I'm going Carson Beck. You know, I think we've probably seen the best of Carson Beck and the worst of Carson Beck. Obviously, the big question mark with him is how does his arm heal from that injury? Like Ralph said, I think he's gonna have a much better supporting cast around him at Miami than he did at Georgia last year, all the way around. And Carson Beck is the type of quarterback that can take Miami to the next level, similar to how Cam Ward did this past year. You know, obviously Miami falling short. I don't think anybody could put that on Cam Ward. I think Carson Beck can do the same thing for Miami this year. At 4, I have Haynes King. Really, really talented. There's a reason why he was a 5-star coming out of high school. There's a reason he played a lot of snaps as a freshman at Texas A&M. Played early on there, and he has come and really elevated Georgia Tech's program. There's no doubt about it. Unfortunately for him, he is basically the whole offense, and that's part of the reason why he gets so banged up. He plays fearless. He's got grit. He's similar to my number 1 SEC quarterback. Got to plug Monday's show, Diego Pavia. They're similar players. I think what they lack in arm talent, they more than make up for with determination, grit, the way that they play the game, the way they lead their teams. I think they're very similar, and they more than make up for what they may lack in arm talent. If Georgia Tech can keep Haynes King healthy, I mean, what Josh Pate said it this week, but Georgia Tech to win the ACC or make the ACC title game. I think if Haynes King just stays healthy, Georgia Tech, that's the ceiling, I think, for Georgia Tech. That's what we'll be talking about come the end of the season. Then Eli Holstein at number 5 just proved us all wrong. It proved us all wrong. In his 10 games, he was really good. 62% completion percentage, over 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, if he can do that again and Pitt can finish some of these games, I think it could really get crowded at the top of the ACC standings come the end of the season. And we could have 3, 4, 5 teams on the last day, the last conference game of the year, playing for a spot in the ACC title game. If these 5 quarterbacks play up to their potential, I mean, the ACC, I think we say it every year that it's wide open, but it really feels really wide open going into 2025.
Yeah, I saw a comment earlier. I mean, the comment section's wild, so we're not going to show everything. But there was a comment earlier about, like, I don't know, and I think it was Matt who said, I don't know how you could have anyone else other than Klubnik at 1. And I think, you know, that is very true in that sense. Like, from what he's done, like, Ralph brought this up multiple times, like, the last couple weeks of the season. Stupid good season last year, like, with what Klubnik was able to do. Really efficient. But I think that just in general of, like, what you just said, Will, like, it's wide open. Like, yeah, Klubnik feels pretty steady. But any of these guys could elevate their team to Charlotte. Like, any other 4 teams I could see in Charlotte if things go right. Now, I don't really know what Pitt has in terms of their roster around them. That'll be interesting. But I do want to point this out because, Will, you said that you feel like Miami's supporting cast will be better than what Georgia had this year. And I thought that was, you know, at face value, people are like, wait, what? But you go back and look, Georgia was banged up at the running back position all year. Frazier was in and out of the doghouse. The receiving situation wasn't great. But you go back and look at what Miami's got to replace Restrepo and Jacoby George. That's going to be interesting. And they got C.J. Daniels, who transfers in from LSU, Malachi Toney. They've got a lot of freshman talent. Dalen Upshaw, just down the road over there at Central High School as well. Nye Carr entering year 2 down there in Miami. So I think that just in terms of –
And Isaiah Horton, by the way.
Yes. So I think just in terms of that, it's like it's not going to be what they had, right? And also they don't have Damian Martinez to help out in the backfield this year, he was a really good player for them last year. With Beck at Miami, and I'll get to my point here, like I still think it's going to be better because I just think Georgia's weapons were just not good last year outside of Beck, and it's not like he still made bad decisions like Ralph said, but I thought it was a really good connection to be made because Will says, hey, weapons weren't great last year. And then Ralph, you started off with like about Beck, like you had him obviously at 5 because it's like, yeah, he didn't have good weapons. And then on top of that, he tried to force the ball too much and play outside of himself. So that's a good connection
and then,
right there.
You watch the play calling, especially like Ole Miss really sticks out. And really every game. I mean, the back half of the season
games. Like,
yeah, the back half of the season, I mean, Mike Bobo's basically calling all screen passes. Because that offensive line couldn't block long enough to even, throw like a 5-yard in route. I mean, that's how bad Georgia's offensive line situation was. And the receivers were bad. I mean, even top to bottom, they were bad. They either underperformed or however you want to say it. They were bad in 2024. Running backs, they didn't have a consistent running game. So it was all on Carson Beck. And that's part of the reason why it was so bad.
Yeah. I think too, and I just was looking this up to really look at it, and I'm going to get into my take here. So, yeah, no, that's good. Let's move to mine because I've got more I want to talk on back here in just a second. So, my top 5 is actually different in this. It's maybe trending more towards what Will was saying. Is I've got Klubnik, Beck, King, Jennings, and Holstein. I sit here with this, and I'll be honest with you guys. Like I had Haynes King above Beck until about 2 hours ago. And I think that this is where I sit with this. And this is a great point here by Zach Jones. Kind of proves what I'm saying. UGA receivers led the nation drop passes. He still had 3,500 passing yards and 30 touchdowns. Anyone acting like he won't be good at Miami is lying. This is where I sit with it. And Beck, like Shannon Dawson's offense is very explosive in the scheme that they like to run. Like they like to get downfield. The difference between Cam Ward and Carson Beck, though, and I know Gavin has trolled about this in the past year of the show that, he's saying he's a check down merchant. Cam Ward, you go back and look at the average depth of throw and what they did. He likes to go down the field. Beck is more of a rhythmic passer. Like, let's get some things moving, and then we start with the intermediate routes. And I think that this year, in terms of that, like, I think that fits him pretty well. And like we talked about, like, Isaiah Horton coming in, like you mentioned, C.J. Daniels. I watched that guy. Like, that's the type of guy that can be a rhythmic guy. They don't have, in terms of proven guys in Miami, guys that can take the top off of a defense. But I think Carson Beck just enters in terms of a quarterback is a guy that, in my opinion, could follow in the footsteps of Cam Ward in getting to New York if things break right, but it is going to look different. It's not going to look like it's spinning the ball 60 yards down the field all the time trying to complete super deep passes. So that's something that I think, just in my opinion, is about Beck. Now, the thing on that, we've talked about Klubnik. I mean, he's just I think he could torch LSU in week 1. That's just can't talk about it. But, I think he could do that. Haynes King at 3 for me. And the reason that I flip-flopped on this is because the 2 seasons of the body of work that we've had of Haynes King, okay? And I encourage people to kind of maybe take the glasses off for a second with this, okay? You're injured for a chunk of the 2024 season, but you still throw for, 2,100 yards and 14 touchdowns. You ran for over nearly 600 yards and double-digit scores as well. A lot of people like to talk about the numbers in 2023 where you had, 35, 36, 37 overall touchdowns, and you had 3,500 total yards, but the interception number was up for Haynes King in 2023. I think that when you take a look at what he can be here in 2025 is, look, Haynes King is a guy that they didn't throw the ball as much this year. He obviously got hurt. They ran the ball. Brent Key wants to run the ball. And I'll tell you this right now, like I think one of the big indicators of that is how they've valued who has left and who has entered the program. right? Like you get and go one of the best rushing running backs in the Ivy League to come play for you. You've kind of loaded at the running back position in terms of potential there. You nearly let your top 2 receivers leave. You let your top receiver in terms of talent leave in Eric Singleton. Where do you value? You value running the football more. And so I think when you get to the end of the day, there's the potential that Beck could have better passing numbers because that's what Miami wants to do more of in terms of what Georgia Tech wants to do. Now, in the scope of what Haynes King is as a quarterback, Ralph, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said this. Like, he's a gamer. Like, they may run him into the ground at times, and that might come back to hurt if they can't establish some other weapons and get a legitimate RB2. And we'll talk about that as we get closer to the season. But I like Haynes King at 3 because you can't devalue the importance he is to his team, right? Like they took him out and they struggled big time. That matters a lot. And I think that King is probably the most important quarterback to his team's overall success, maybe in the ACC. Like maybe in the ACC, and maybe that's an argument we can have there as well. Now, Kevin Jennings, look, I think Kevin Jennings is the better athlete. Maybe, and Will, you and I kind of comped each other out on this when we did coaching rankings, the longevity aspect. Haynes King shown ability to will his team to some wins of the past 2 years. Jennings hasn't done it as long, but here's why that gap is so small. Because, guys, we were all there. We were there when SMU was down 17 points in Charlotte. And we all watched what happened when they got down, and he just kept coming back. He just continued to put his players. I mean, Will, you said that we were sitting right there on one of those big, I think it was like 4th or 3rd and something down play. And it's just one of those things where, hey, he's just finding a way. And so the gap between King and Jennings is super close for me. And then I just cannot, I can't negate what Eli Holstein brings to the table. I know we've talked about him as well. So get to some of the super chats here because good stuff. Will needs more McDonald's. $20 from Matt. Rambling on Zach Jones, I would bet $1 gazillion right now that Beck will have better numbers than King. King is at top 5 for flashy numbers. He's top 5 because he's most selfless, most fierce, barbaric quarterback in the ACC. And that's why I kind of said, too, there, Zach, I think that he's the most important to team success. He doesn't care about the independent accolades. Georgia Tech doesn't really care about independent accolades. And so they're just like, hey, let's just go win, that type of thing. So that's kind of where I sit with that. Those are our rankings. I will go through them just for the audio listeners so they can get an idea of what we're talking about here. Mine, Klubnik, Beck, King, Jennings, Holstein. Will's, Klubnik, Jennings, Beck, King, Holstein. And then Klubnik, Jennings, King, Holstein, Beck for Ralph. Let's talk about a couple of other quarterbacks because this is where we were texting back and forth today, fellas, about like who's next, right? And so I just kind of want to throw some names out here and you guys give me your thoughts. So a guy that we didn't have in there, okay, is, I would say the next 3, okay, for a lot of people. And this is none of them are transfers. Kyron Drones, Castellanos, and maybe CJ Bailey. And then you add in transfers of Darian Menza and Miller Moss. But where do those guys kind of fit into the picture for you? Ralph, I'll let you take it first. Because it is a conversation to be had about each individual one. I like all of our top. I like where we went with our top 5, but I think there's opportunities for growth with those players.
Yeah, CJ Bailey's an interesting one for me. I thought, he runs very well. We saw that this past year, especially against Georgia Tech when, his arm's not going to win him games, but his legs will. If he gets his arm down, his passing game down, he's going to be a very good quarterback. I will be I will be very impressed with a CJ Bailey season where he could throw for about 2,500 yards and run for almost 1,000. I think that's a possibility for him in the future. You say Kyron Drones. Look, last year we were really high on Virginia Tech and Kyron Drones, and very lackluster. I was very disappointed with them. Brent Pry obviously did not prepare this team very well. Like OC's gone. They just hired. And we asked this question. I literally mentioned this to you the other day. I forget who they hired now.
Virginia Tech. Yeah, I got you. Keep going though.
New hired OC.
Philip Montgomery. Come on.
That's right. That's right. That's why I couldn't remember because I forgot who they were interviewing first. That's why. they had it's a good hire for them. I think he'll work really well with Kyron Drones. I think his offense could be better this year. I don't see him being a top 5 quarterback in the ACC. I think his top 5 is pretty solid. I don't see really anyone sneaking in. I see one person might be sneaking in, and that's if he carries what he did last year at a smaller school compared to what he's doing this year at a bigger school. Which, I mean, I'm talking about Darian Menza, but smaller school is in relevance when he's at Tulane, which is played 2 very good Big 12 schools at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So
going off of drones real quick, and we can talk Kyron Drones here for a second. And I love TDJ. Just this is the kind of stuff we go back and forth. We have good humor, and this is why I like it. Drones better average.
I was going to make a comment about that.
Kyron Drones was also banged up a little bit last year, right? And that kind of hurt his ability. But guys, Kyron Drones had over 500 yards after contact, which ranked 3rd nationally among quarterbacks. So we talk a lot about, I'll say this, okay? We talk a lot about Haynes King and his willingness to will somebody to win. Does Kyron Drones not embody that maybe for Virginia Tech at times? And look, they had Basil Tootin, who was a really good running back. Both those teams actually at full strength would have been a really fun game because King was hurt that game because they feel like they both just want to run the ball and be physical at the point of attack. But I think Drones is a guy where, like you said, Ralph, I mean, maybe he's never truly viewed unless he just goes ballistic as a top 5 quarterback, but it's very important to the success of what Virginia Tech wants to do. So, yeah, Will, any thoughts on Drones outside of the yards per carry statistic that was just such a big deal last year?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, he definitely elevates Virginia Tech's offense for sure, and I think that he definitely should be in discussion to be top 5. I'd say he's probably 7th or 8th. When you think about with an 18-team conference, that's a pretty good quarterback. His surrounding cast is just subpar. Loses his left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I made it 33 minutes and 10 seconds. Shout out Hugh Freeze for finally getting an offensive lineman.
Well, let me interrupt you. Lost the left tackle. The center's now at LSU. I mean, they lost 3 offensive linemen to the portal off of that group.
Yeah, so it's I'm afraid it's going to be a long season for Virginia Tech and for Kyron Drones. But, guy that was 3rd nationally of all amongst all quarterbacks. There you go. There's the timer. At yards after contact, he can extend the play. If he can stay upright in the pocket, they'll have a chance. But, they'll just be a team fighting to make a bowl game again.
I think, too, with that about Virginia Tech is something has to just break, right? And Brent Pry's obviously an interesting head coach because it just hasn't come to fruition of what they wanted to do there. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting. The next guy, let's talk about him, Darian Menza. I mean, I'll say this. If I'm going to keep the same energy with the expectation level of some players, then I have, as they perform really well at the lower level, and I say, well, we got to temper, I've got to keep that same energy with Menza in this case. But, buddy, they paid him like he's a top 5 quarterback in the country. And, look, Menza's good. He's a playmaker. I'm interested to see what it looks like because I think he's better than Malik Murphy. I think he can throw. I mean, Murphy could throw, but Murphy was just a weird fit.
He's a weird fit for that offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think Menza fits the mold as a playmaker, and that's kind of what the ACC has. They just got a bunch of guys that can just go play football. T.D. Jake says, didn't they pay him close to $3 million? What, an 8?
Yeah, it was like 8.
It was like 8. It's crazy, man. Now it's not 8 for 1 year; it's spread out as a contract. But I don't know. Where do you guys feel like on Darian Menza? Because Ralph, maybe you were hinting at this. I'll let you take it first. He might be the guy that could rise into the top 5. He could be a big riser if he continues on that trajectory.
Well, if he plays like he did at Tulane this past year, I could see him easily rising to the top 5. I mean, he played excellently this past year as a freshman, and I know I'll say this: he had better talent with him around him at Tulane than he does going into Duke this year.
That receiving core at Tulane was stupid.
It's such a weird thing. They had a former 4-star receiver from USC and a 3-star receiver from I can't remember where he was from. Oh gosh, It doesn't matter. But he does not have that at Duke, and I just don't know if he's able to produce like he did at Tulane. But there's a possibility he can. I mean, I'm not going to put it past him because he was coached well there. Obviously developed pretty well to get this kind of offer, to get this kind of this want to be a quarterback in their school.
Yeah.
Someone believes in him enough to give him $8 million to be his quarterback. So someone's scouting or their talent evaluations there, and they're really high on him.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's a first year thing. I think it's going to be a 2-year thing for him.
Well, and I just saw the comment.
I don't think it's an immediate uprise. I think it's going to be, yeah. I mean, yeah, he'll take Duke to a bowl. Duke has a great defense that they'll ride on, and their offense won't have to do a lot, but he kind of reminds me of what Riley Leonard was for them. Not in the exact same way, but kind of a gamer. He runs well. He's a good arm, but he's not Riley Leonard for Duke. So
yeah,
but he's kind of that game style.
Menz was actually ranked as the 9th best quarterback in the class for 24/7 Sports. Malik Murphy was the 6th best, and he's headed to the Mountain West Conference. Gavin says this too. Mekhi Hughes probably helped a bunch too. I'd have to go look at Duke's. I'd have to go look at who Duke has running back. Man, that supporting cast in New Orleans was really, really good. Really good.
Where did Malik Murphy go again?
What did you say? Oregon State.
Oregon State, that's right.
Yeah, Mountain West stalwart. Come on, man, you know that.
They're still in the Pac-12.
Mountain West agreement stalwart. Peace treaty. Joe the Paz says, Coach Will, what's up, man? So Johnny, he said, well, I hope they just won 9 games. They don't make a bowl. That'd be a tremendous fall off. Yeah, it would. I mean, they were good this year, and I think it's interesting. The ACC is actually really interesting, kind of spot there. Well, you can talk about Menza, but I really wanted to give the floor to you because I know that there's a coach that's near and dear to your heart that's now a coordinator in the ACC. And our good friend over here, Ken Hendricks, brings it up, so let's go there. He goes, I feel like Castellanos could be the dark horse that shocks the league, assuming he keeps the job. He was sneaky good at BC, and he's going to have a lot of talent around him. And I still don't think Norvell is a bad coach. Ken, you know who those is? It's the Gus Bus has made its way to Tallahassee. Well, look, I mean, you watched a lot of Auburn. To me, he just feels like the perfect fit. Like when I watched Auburn and the quarterbacks they had, Castellanos, like you don't have to be an elite passer, but just from an athlete's perspective, this could be positive. I mean, it's going to be better than what they had this past year, but yeah.
I'm pausing and grinning because how many different quarterbacks did Gus Malzahn bring into Auburn that everybody said that's a perfect fit and was not good?
That's fair.
Several, like 4 or 5 in a row. The guys that you didn't think were good fits were successful. Sean White, Bo Nix, very good freshman year, and there wasn't a lot of talk of saying he's the quote-unquote perfect fit. Nick Marshall, nobody really knew anything about, and he was great, excellent, took him to a national title. But Castellanos has similar skill set to a Nick Marshall. He's obviously not a Cam Newton. Nobody's a Cam Newton. He's similar skill set to probably that freshman Bo Nix, where, he's going to make a lot of plays with his legs.
Good athlete.
And it's been a long time since we've seen Gus Malzahn just be an offensive coordinator. I think Florida State can be really good this year. Their offense can be really good. They've got a quarterback that we know can make plays in this conference. He did it at Boston College. And you've got Gus Malzahn, who doesn't have to worry about the defense at all. Now, whether he acted as the offensive coordinator at times as a head coach, we know he did. But he was still thinking about defense. He was thinking about special teams. Now he can focus solely on offense. Castellanos, I think, may have the biggest upside, and Florida State, hand in hand, have probably the biggest upside in the ACC this year. It helps when you only won 2 games the year before, but Norvell bringing in Malzahn to run the offense and can focus solely on offense, I think is going to be a huge game changer.
Rocksteady said he's a midget. You can't say that in 2025, by the way, Rocksteady. So good thing you didn't use your name, or we'd immediately have our intern send it to your place of employment. Castellanos, he's 5'11", 196. Like he's not.
He's definitely not Cam Newton.
Yeah, he's definitely. I just think from an athlete perspective, you're getting back to a guy that can just make some plays. You know, like DJU didn't make any play at all, and so I mean, Ralph said this. Okay, earlier he goes, "Does this get you? Is he comparable to Jordan Travis?" I don't think so because I think Jordan Travis is very, very good quarterback, like a very high floor quarterback. The thing with Castellanos, though, is I think you get back to some of the playmaking opportunities that you had under Travis, not necessarily. It is what it is. Rocksteady goes, I live in Boston and I've met him 5'9" tops. Hey, look, roster sheets do lie. So you might be right in that sense of that.
What was that
so,
about CJ Stroud? Stroud was 6'5", but he was actually like 6'2". I know what it was.
Something crazy when they took him to the comp. Yeah, like when they did all the testing and stuff like that.
Wow, he's like 3 inches shorter than they actually said he was.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Nick Marshall. He was listed at 6'1", not the tallest guy. And obviously, like, track speed that I don't know that Castellanos has. Don't think he has. I was just trying to think short quarterbacks. Bo Nix, he's not all that tall, right?
Bo Nix,
what's he listed at?
6'3"?
He's listed at 6'3".
Yeah, he has.
But I've been next to him. I think he's like 6 feet.
I love this. Kyler Murray, 5'4" maximum. Kyler Murray can have success. Castellanos can find some. I don't think it's going to be a disaster. I'll say that. Oh yeah, Matt. Any time that you talk about a short quarterback, it's two guys, Breeze and Russell Wilson. Those are the two guys that they're like, okay, yeah, here's the example.
Doug Flutie.
I don't recognize that.
No, he. I think it's best if we don't get into that.
I just I plead the fifth. Yeah, no, I like that. Any other guys that you're just kind of looking at in this? I mean, I'll talk about this one. Okay. This is a big point of contention because, Ralph, you did put in here that you were kind of like, what about this guy? Benched at USC. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you really believe in the Jeff Brom quarterback whisperer type of thing, then Miller Moss is going to hit in 2025. Like, if you believe that, when you go and look at what they've been able to do, Jack Plummer was his first guy there, managed the game well. This past year, they bring in Tyler Shuck. Shuck slung the ball around and had some success. Showed out in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. With Miller Moss, this is the prime. This is the prime change of scenery move right here. You get out of LA if you're Moss, and you go to a guy that's like, hey, I don't know where my game is right now. Let me go to a guy who can develop some quarterbacks and has done a good job of it. I'm not saying it's going to hit, but I'm like, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Bryce, go back to the kids' table. I was told Miller Moss is not a loss for USC, but
that is true. We don't know anything, but yes. Well, yeah, no, it is. To be fair, Tyler Shuck is 20. I don't think Georgia Tech fans can use this anymore because you have a 25-year-old starting quarterback. I think that's, yeah. So, but anyways, no, am I crazy there? Like with Brom, like this could work. And I'm not saying he's going to be top 3 quarterback in ACC, but like, I think it could work. Like Miller Moss could revitalize his career under Brom, who's known for just helping quarterbacks be pretty good, at least pretty good.
Yeah. I agree because you got a guy who going into 2023 was not going to play until 2024 at USC. Obviously got a nod in the bowl game and threw for 400 yards. 460 yards in that bowl game for USC, and everyone said, "Wow, this the hype's there." And then against LSU, balled out. It was it was an impressive game. I thought he played really well against LSU, managed the ball, managed the game very well. And I guess I don't know if it was more of a no offensive line help for him. The run game was not there for USC halfway through the season. And Lincoln Riley, who is I always put him as a quarterback guru in a way. He's produced 3 Heisman quarterbacks, 4.
Kyler Murray,
3.
Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
So
Caleb Williams. Yeah.
Jalen Hurts didn't win a Heisman, but still a good quarterback. So he's done a great job in teaching these guys. I just don't know what happened to Miller Moss there. I think it was more of he just kind of got in a headspace there, but I think Jeff Brom could turn it around. I think Jeff Brom is one of the best to work with quarterbacks in the last few years. Like you said, we've talked about this multiple times on the show. Won at Purdue, has done successful the last 2 years at Louisville with what you would say would be below average quarterback play or below average quarterbacks that turn into a very good quarterback play. So Miller Moss, who has all the tools going into this year, I think he could be a kind of a dark horse to be could
be a top 5 quarterback in the conference. Yeah, he's a dark horse for that guy.
It wouldn't hurt to say he's right there at 6, honestly.
Well, because he has the talent. Like you can't deny the talent that he has. It didn't work, but guys, he also threw for 2,600 yards. Last year had 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Like it wasn't terrible what he did out in LA. It just wasn't good enough for what they're doing. So it's I don't know. Will, any thoughts on Miller Moss outside of what we've said?
No, I think he's going to the right place.
I like it.
I think he's got a ton of potential. And
yeah,
to me right now, I think Jeff Brom's probably the best, maybe I say the best quarterback coach in America.
I mean, he won at Purdue. I've said that 50,000 times in the past year. And no disrespect, Jack Plummer was pretty good in his first year. And Jack Plummer is not a high-level quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, I think what
Tyler
you said is
a
true.
High-level quarterback either.
Yeah. Ooh, freshman out of Cal will be a top 5 ACC quarterback year 1. They do love him, by the way. They love him. And,
I'll tell you why he won't be.
All right.
Brian Harsin is his offensive coordinator.
Well, see, Zach, you've found the nerve, and then you dug in on it right there, and Will immediately shot you down.
He will not be.
There's a reason why you don't talk about Cal in this thing, because one, Will doesn't like him for the last year for Auburn playing him. 2, they hired Brian Harsin.
No, I like Justin Wilcox. I think he's a very good coach.
I wanted to ask this because I don't know where this guy is.
Who?
Where's Chandler Rogers?
Is he still at Cal?
I think he's out of eligibility.
He entered the portal a month ago.
What is eligibility?
Well, because I will tell you this though, if he was still there, Mendoza might be in the top 5. That's a guy that is he's a pretty good player.
He's in the portal, I guess.
Are they saying someone's saying UTSA, but I know that's not right.
No. He's still
kind of interesting. He's still in the portal.
Yeah.
My gosh, do you know where all he's been?
Yes.
It's TJ Finley-esque.
Where's he been? Say it.
North Texas.
Don't look it up.
It's North Texas.
He was
ULM, wasn't it?
Yep. Where was he before that?
Southern Miss?
There was a place in between. It's where all the great quarterbacks go when they have to rehab their college career.
The Blinn College.
Blinn College.
Okay, yeah. When that gave it away when you said, so good Lord. So he's been at 3. That's crazy.
Good Lord.
That's wild. Will, do you want to talk about Robbie Ashford?
No, please don't.
He's a great athlete.
No,
he'll be
no, awful. He'll be benched after game 2.
I can't say he'll be a great third string quarterback for Wake Forest because
I didn't give him that much.
It'll
be a great.
He will let his displeasures be known. He will.
He'll be a great addition to the baseball team later on this season.
Take a page out of Cal's book on advertising. Hey, we didn't talk about this guy, but I really enjoyed watching him play, and I think he's got some nice upside. CJ Bailey, North Carolina State. Good athlete. We just kind of mentioned his name, but I think he's a guy who could be fun to watch this year. There's a lot of guys to take a step up, and then there's just guys
that is.
North Carolina State quarterback. That's okay though.
I'm like Charles Barkley. I only watch good teams.
See, within that sentence, we know that you watched a not good team a decent amount last year.
Only 12 games.
We'll see.
I mean, look, the truth. He truly did.
He did. I mean, he's a good athlete. It's what does he become as a passer? So
I didn't mean to hit that comment. I'm gonna lie to you.
I love it. Hey, we appreciate everyone watching. That is our ACC quarterback rankings. You take a look at some of the names. It's an intriguing conference in 2025 just to kind of watch. Matt does say who was the UNC quarterback that got hurt early. It was supposed to be good. It's 47-year veteran Max Johnson.
Veteran quarterback play in the ACC that's going this year.
That's true. Go look up GT, NC State, CJ Bailey, lowlights passing wise. Yeah, he's not a polished passer, but he's a great athlete. And if you figure that out, then that's what it is. Zach Tesson says, everybody subscribe. So make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We will be live once again, fellas, as we getting closer and closer. Spring ball starts next week. And fellas, it's time for tiers. So next Monday, SEC team tiers. Next Wednesday, ACC team tiers. And then we kick it off with spring football. Going to be a lot of fun. We cannot wait to do that. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. My name is Bryce Koon. What did you say?
Can we introduce a Z tier?
Well, if it gets so bad that we're going letters, that's I was going to go just tier 1, tier 2. If you're going through all the 100 numbers and then through the 26 letters, then we got to keep going.
122, please. Tier 122.
Tier 22, and then there's
how many FBS teams are there? 130,
134. Don't sleep on Delaware State. They're here this year, so it is what it is. Will Manis, my name is Bryce Koon. That's Ralph Leary. We will catch you once again on Monday Night Live, 7:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Is dude really a Troy fan?
This is how really, you get banned right here.
He really is.
Questions like this.
I went to school there, so
he really is.
Okay.
He really
is. How you get banned. It's how your house gets burned down.
Arsonist.
New road this year. New road.
New road. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.